Now the cold case cards. Where is Katrina McVeigh?
She deserves her story to be told. She deserves to be found. And her family, especially my mother, deserves the closure.
Katrina disappeared in 1992. There was a tip her body would be found along the Blackstone River, but after 27 years, her family has no answers.
Woonsocket police added the investigation to a deck of cold case playing cards. Each card highlights an unsolved murder or missing person case in Rhode Island. Tonight, the plea from Katrina's family and the incredible way they're remembering her. Katrina McVeigh, the Nine of Diamonds.
They walk together, solemnly.
Hey, Uncle Richard's going to do a prayer.
They grasp their flowers and bow their heads.
The day that he lost her.
And plead for answers.
Mom's 75, you know. Mom deserves the right to know.
The rust-covered Woonsocket Bridge running over the Blackstone River has, over time, become a grave marker for Todd Tebow's family.
Sometimes a river can become a memorial to somebody when you don't have answers.
In 1992, Katrina McVeigh disappeared. Todd still remembers being a kid, admiring his big sister.
She was always mischievous. She was up to something, always had you. If you needed an issue, she was right there, whether it be a hug or whether it be anything else.
Woonsocket police are investigating what happened, but there's still no answers.
Come home, Katrina. Please come home. Let us know you're all right.
Katrina's mother begged for something in 1992.
If she's gone, then let us give her a decent burial. Let us have the comfort of mourning her.
Eventually, she received an anonymous phone call.
It was something to the effect that you can find your daughter by the riverbank.
They searched. Police searched, but nothing.
I just wonder, you know, if all those years, if I just kept on going up this way, if I would have found something.
Todd lives in Indiana with his family now, but still comes back to look. This year, his brother made it for the first time, along with Todd's daughters and grandson.
Faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains, so I'm hoping at some point at the right time, we'll find her and be able to put her in a proper burial.
After that prayer on the bridge,
and carnations were her favorite flower, so that's why we do carnations.
They toss the flowers into the river below.
1, 2, 3. Maybe, just maybe, by the grace of God, the flowers will find her if we don't.
Katrina's mother isn't able to make the trip anymore.
The little tear in the eye going on here, and just want closure for Mom. There's too much to explain in one word or two words. Maybe somebody will drop a line and say, hey, this is where she was at, and that's all the information you're going to get. And as far as the family side, that's satisfaction.
That's it. That's all they want, a place to go to remember her that isn't a bridge or a river, but a grave with her name.
Just wanted the end for my sister, for my mother.
Do you know where Katrina McVeigh is or what happened to her? Call 1-877-RI-SOLVE or go to our website to learn more about this investigation and all of the others we've covered so far in this series.
It didn't have to go down like this. There's so many other ways it could have happened.
Thomas Greg Morton was shot in his Exeter driveway in 1991. His body was then dragged into his home and set on fire.
To bring in new leads, detectives added the case to a deck of cold case playing cards. Each card highlights an unsolved homicide or missing person case in Rhode Island.
Tonight, I sit down with Greg's siblings who just want to know who pulled the trigger. Thomas Greg Morton, the Nine of Spades.
Thomas Morton, or Greg as everyone called him, was entertaining.
As soon as he came, the party seemed to pick up all the time, so.
Life of the party.
Life of the party, yeah.
And he was the best gift giver.
He gave me my first football. I still have it.
He just always bought these special gifts, and so it was important to us, it was important to me, like that Christmas, to buy him something special.
Greg's siblings went shopping for their annual Christmas Eve party in 1990.
So I picked out a sweater, and then he didn't show, so I didn't have a chance to give it to him then.
It was a little strange for him not to come, but Renee was eventually able to give her brother that sweater a few weeks later.
I guess he liked it. Because he had it on when they murdered him.
It was February. Jean got the call and rushed to Greg's lake house in Exeter.
What I saw in that driveway that day, I cannot ever forget.
Greg was shot in the head and the neck.
It's most likely that he was shot in his own driveway, dragged into the residence, and it was set on fire.
They were trying to cover it up.
That's what it's believed, that they were trying to cover up the crime by setting it on fire.
State Police Detective Kyle Draper said the search for suspects in 1991 was tough.
From all accounts of family members and friends, he didn't have any enemies.
Dive team searched Boone Lake for the gun. They didn't find it.
I mean, we didn't know what happened. Our brother gets shot, cold blood, murdered.
As detectives and the family have searched for answers, Gene says he thinks that sweater Renee got Greg holds a clue.
He's not going up to the top of the driveway at nighttime, 9 o'clock or so on a Friday night, in his best clothes, if he doesn't know who's showing up.
And there are other clues and evidence state police are retesting with today's DNA technology. Plus, there's still fresh tips.
We still have some more leads we're going to be tracking down in the next few weeks.
The siblings remain hopeful because the pain hasn't gone away.
They talk about people passing, or you lost someone. You didn't lose anybody. Somebody took them from you, murdered them, and then they go on with their life.
In 1947, it wasn't the 10-mile River Greenway. This was called Lover's Lane. And the sign of Rita Bouchard's death are still visible today. That's where our cold case card investigations take us. Rita Bouchard, the ace of spades.
It's either down here or one of these other paths.
Sue Anthony leads me and her cousin Rick to the spot. So it's just up around here, you think?
I hope it better be.
There's no sign, no GPS.
No, this isn't the tree.
Just her memory. What's that like every time you've come here to take a look?
Upsetting.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm honoring her.
We're headed to the place her aunt was murdered a lifetime ago. So you had just assumed that this had been lost to history?
Oh, of course. Of course.
But through the brush, we arrived.
These are the axe marks.
The tall oak is still hiding the memory of the viciousness that took place here. Rita was 17, a mill worker. The photo from the early 1940s shows Rick's dad, Robert, Sue's mom, Mildred, their uncle, Henry, and there's Rita. On February 1st, 1947, she left work in Pawtucket. Her body was later found here, slashed, stabbed, axed.
It's just horrible. The way she died is unacceptable. Anybody to die, but just the horrific, the way she died is... Somebody could do that to a person is beyond me.
There was a suspect, a young man whose story was later determined to be inconsistent. But then nothing for decades until Detective Sue Cormier reopened the case.
You're an amazing person, detective. And
now, after 72 years, Rick and Sue have new hope for justice for an aunt they never met.
We never forget Aunt Rita, ever.
Do you feel closer to her when you're here?
Oh, yeah. And going to her grave.
What are some of the challenges of working a 72-year-old cold case?
Well, obviously, there's not a lot of the report left. She was 17 years old. She had her entire life in front of her. And, this is kind of a scary place for her life to end. And seeing the axe marks in the tree, kind of tells the story of what happened here.
The person who did this is probably dead at this point.
Yeah.
But you just want a name.
Yeah, it's something. Hopefully that's suffering like she did.
Do you know what happened to Rita Bouchard? Have you ever heard a story from someone about what happened that day? Call 1-877-RI-SOLVE or go to our website, WPRI.com, to learn more about this investigation and all of the others we've covered so far in this series. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.
When Woonsocket police found Megan Paul's body, there was evidence everywhere: fingerprints, blood, knives. Tonight, we go into the crime lab with detectives Megan Paul, the 8 of Hearts. With the surface clean, the gloves on, Detective Anthony Canetta processes 25-year-old evidence, seeing if any clues have been missed. A diary, newspaper clippings, and the knife.
This was a murder weapon.
Mid-March 1994, Megan Paul was staying on the 3rd floor of this Woonsocket rooming house. She was down on her luck.
She had some problems with addiction.
Canetta says Paul was selling her body. A lot of people went in and out of the building, and one of them attacked her. This knife was found lodged in her abdomen. Another knife found in the sink.
She had some other stab wounds, which consistent with fighting off somebody with a knife.
She was fighting for her life.
Fighting for her life.
She lost that fight. The Woonsocket mother was dead. It would be days before neighbors called police because of the smell.
Megan Paul is certainly no...
Eyewitness News reported the murder on March 17, 1994.
And after 25 years, there are a few established facts.
Megan was with somebody she knew.
But who?
A lot of the leads we had went cold from people just being deceitful or people not really want to be involved at the time.
Canetta looks over the crime scene photos.
These are the puzzle pieces, many of the puzzle pieces. You know, every time we revisit the case and every time we look at this evidence, a piece of the puzzle gets put together. So it's just a matter of time before we really find out what happened that night.
They have people of interest, fingerprints and DNA, lots of DNA, but there's never been a match. They found it under her fingernails and all over the evidence.
But as the years go by, we run out of options, so we have to revisit the evidence to see what else we could possibly do to find more leads.
Canetta uses an alternate light source. The color lights will make different substances glow. The murder weapon still has blood on it.
These papers were there when she was being murdered.
The pages from the Woonsocket call were scattered throughout the apartment. While looking them over, he notices they haven't been fingerprinted before. A new lead.
All these, these items that we find, they're the only witnesses that we have.
It's step by step, but eventually, he believes it will lead to an arrest and the end of a cold case.
She absolutely deserves justice, absolutely. And no person deserves to have their life taken away.
There's a lot we don't know about Carol. She could have been a sweet girl in the wrong place at the wrong time, but we just don't know. For the last 6 months, I have been working behind the scenes to uncover everything I can about her life and her death, and we're now finally starting to get some answers. Here's our update. Carol Lothamer, the Ace of Diamonds.
She was killed 44 years ago. Let's start with the card. August 24th, 1975. Carol Lothamer's badly beaten and decomposing body was found in a recreation area called Carr Point. This spot on the west shore of Portsmouth is closed off to the public, an old strip of land run by Naval Station Newport. The card reveals detectives know she was last seen at the bars in Newport just a few days before, but that's it. The case is being investigated by NCIS, the Naval Criminal Investigative Service. After multiple email exchanges, no one has been made available to be interviewed about this case. So, Eyewitness News requested the investigative files in the decades-old murder. That request was denied. We filed an appeal and we're waiting for a response. But who is Carol Lothamer? Simple Google searches come up with nothing. Her case hasn't been covered in the internet era. But what about coverage back when her body was first found?
We're about to enter the Newport Public Library now to go through old articles from the Newport Daily News, the Newport Mercury, the Naval Log to see what information media reports had about this murder back in 1975.
The Newport Public Library allowed us to spend a day searching the archives, going through reel
Providence Journal
after reel of clippings from
August 16th to 31st.
August and September of 1975, then a hit. The Newport Daily News.
Decomposed body of an unidentified
August 25th, 1975. Hiker here finds body. A brief 3-paragraph article. The only new detail, Carol was wearing a bikini.
And then the next day, girl slain, says FBI. The FBI today.
The article says she was hit in the head and was from Richmond, Indiana. That was our first real lead on Carol's life. The Palladium Item, the newspaper in Richmond, reveals Carol was only 19. She moved to Middletown less than a year before her death to manage a motel. She wanted to be a beautician. But then, someone killed her and left her dead in a bikini in the brush.
Now to the cold case cards. Cindy Roberts was a loving mother, but she went missing when her daughter Jade was just 7 years old.
She still takes over my whole life, even though she's not here.
For 18 years, state police have tried to solve her murder. And now the case has been added to a deck of playing cards, hoping to find new leads. Each card highlights an unsolved homicide or missing persons case in Rhode Island. And tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen sits down with Cindy's family as police work to get them closure.
Every week, as we've brought you a different cold case investigation in the state, we usually start where the person died. Not today. Today, we start where she lived. Cindy Roberts, the 6 of Spades.
These photos of good memories were taken inside Cindy Roberts' home.
I was with her all the time, like we were attached to the hip.
Jade, a mother herself now, says her mom Cindy had a great sense of humor.
That she was a very uplifting person. She was nice and she laughed all the time. I don't remember her laugh anymore.
The family lived just around the corner from River Island Park in Woonsocket, a sun-drenched grassy field along the Blackstone River. The family loved this place. This spot, hidden in the blades of grass, holds a powerful moment.
And you could tell that she was like worried, you know? She held my arms and she said, I'm going away for a little while, but I'm gonna be back. And then that was it. I never saw her again.
Jade was just 7 when her mother Cindy disappeared in July 2001. In October, Cindy's skeletal remains were found.
Her remains were located in this rural region here between Route 99 and Old River Road.
There's a few hiking trails and power lines in the wooded area off 295 in Lincoln, but that's it. State Police Detective Robert Hopkins says whoever did it likely knows that area well. He won't say how she was killed. It's a tactic for when they close in on a suspect.
If they are aware of a key detail, then when we talk to people, we can potentially, key in on that information.
It gives you an advantage.
In essence, it's an investigative technique that we utilize, especially in cases like this.
Hopkins says they follow every lead, never giving up.
You take it home. You're out to dinner with your family, the case is on your mind. You're at the gym, the case is on your mind.
That's the way Cindy's mom, Margaret, feels too.
Whatever happened to her, she didn't deserve. Should not have happened.
18 years, 18 whole years without the person who brought me into this world.
Jade says as she's raised her kids, she realizes now more than ever what she missed out on.
My family just needs to heal. I know it won't bring her back, but we need something. It's not normal. It's sick. The way that it happened and the way that she was found and everything was just sick.
And the person who did that sick thing is still out there.
Not only do we have a victim, but potentially other people out there could be victimized by the same person.
It's not fair at all. Just living every day wondering how someone can just live their life okay when we are all here suffering every single day.
Do you know who killed Cindy Roberts? Do you know what happened that day? Call 1-877-RI-SOLVE or go to our website, WPRI.com, to learn more about this investigation and all of the others we've covered so far in this series. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.
Eamon Jamiel was shot and killed in a shower back in 1978. The killing shocked Warren and the state.
To bring in new leads in this case that has eluded investigators, detectives added it to a deck of cold case playing cards. Each card highlights an unsolved homicide or missing persons case in Rhode Island.
And tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen goes back in time to search for an answer so many have waited for.
If you're from Rhode Island, you likely know the name, and you likely know a lot of the details about what happened. Now you can help put an end to the mystery. Eamon Jamiel, the King of Spades.
They ran Warren.
A very important family.
Law offices, shoe stores, children's clothing and tax services. The Jamiels were a household name in the East Bay, Rhode Island town. Of 13 siblings, Eamon Jamiel was the oldest.
Eamon was generally regarded as the unofficial mayor of town. Yes.
So what happened on March 19th, 1978, or more specifically, who made it happen?
It was an emotional death.
The murder of Eamon Jamiel might begin months before the trigger was pulled, when he went to police to say money was missing from his store, the House of a Million Things.
I'm talking about large amounts of money, hundreds of dollars, and even maybe thousands of dollars.
Projectiles in the body.
Former Providence Journal reporter Wayne Worcester covered every step of the investigation. He dug through his old files with me.
It was a crime of passion.
6 days before Eamon's death, someone set his business on fire. 2 grand juries and dozens of interviews would reveal a gun wasn't found in the burnt remains.
A .32 caliber Harrington Richardson revolver was missing from the store's sales inventory. The belief was that it was stolen.
A week later, the testimony reveals Eamon's wife Marcelle and their son Jonathan went to dinner in Newport. They came back to horror.
Help me, please. Hey, would you do somebody with 33 Miller Street, please? 33 Miller? Yes. What's the problem? I'll come, please. Hurry up.
Jamiel was shot to death on March 19th.
Former Channel 12 investigator Jack White re-examined the murder in 1988. His body was found in the shower. The water was still running. The old files reveal his wife said the water was still steaming.
No gun, no fingerprints, and no sign of forced entry.
The autopsy would reveal 11 shots were fired. Police believe the gun was likely that .32 stolen from his store. The gun didn't hold 11 bullets, though.
It meant that somebody had to stand there and reload while Eamon Jamiel was dying, which is pretty cruel and very cold.
That night, the investigation to find the killer took an unexpected hit.
You can probably say that the scene was probably utter chaos at the onset.
They made the rather fatal mistake of not posting a guard on the murder scene on the second floor bathroom overnight.
Marcel cleaned the crime scene.
When they showed up the following morning, the room was spick and span.
It may have held the evidence that has eluded them for a decade.
And the murder weapon was never found. Charges were never filed.
Yes, it has dried up.
Current Warren Deputy Chief Roy Borges says they need more to put it all together.
Looked at every possible scenario that could have happened. We spoke to different people around the community, the neighbors.
I think it'll only be solved if somebody comes forward.
Somebody who can finally solve a 41-year-old mystery. Do you know who killed Eamon Jamiel? Call 1-877-RI-SOLVE. No one besides scientists and detectives has ever been to one of these meetings, but they wanted you to know that when a case goes cold, they don't give up. They just push harder.
All throughout our body, and there's actually...
We can't tell you where or when this is. This collection of people...
Victim's car was there.
This interaction is groundbreaking.
My neck is it's usually a protected area. And
every 2 weeks, homicide detectives from across the state.
Something brought him to Pawtucket.
Lincoln, Cranston, Pawtucket meet with forensic pathologists, DNA experts, odontologists, crime lab leaders with one goal: solving a murder.
Cases that wouldn't have been solved before will be now.
Yes, 100%.
They call themselves the Cold Case Task Force.
Pre and post mortem.
The group was created by Pawtucket detective Sue Cormier.
The victim, the whole point of the task force is getting this from a fresh set of eyes from everybody on the team.
Every meeting, they examine a new case from the deck of playing cards that Eyewitness News highlights every week. This time, they explore the murder of John Leatherwood.
Everybody liked him, nice guy.
The aide to Buddy Cianci was murdered in Vets Park in Pawtucket in June 1978.
He was considered to be a regular at most of these bars.
We can't reveal much about what they discussed.
From your down, you're not going to be able to reach up here until he's dropped.
It's too sensitive to the case, but pathologist Dr. Priya Banerjee explained the importance of the wounds to the detectives.
You can get a sense of what the weapon is by those characteristics. My job really is to distill the autopsy findings.
Banerjee said everyone understands why this meeting is unique and important.
It's always someone's brother, sister, mother. I obviously don't know them, but someone out there wants the answer. So this, I think, is so unique, what we do here.
Cumberland detective Peter Sweet said every meeting helps detectives re-examine what they might have missed.
And now it gives her a chance to look at some of the things, check her notes again, and look over, a couple of suggestions.
Sometimes the team spots something unusual.
We have up top, we had 6.
Yeah, on the passenger side, yeah.
They noticed Leatherwood's glasses and wallet were found in an odd place.
Evidence was on the top of the passenger side of the car, not on the driver's side of the car, and that could be, a key piece.
It's those moments, questions, suggestions that can change it all.
We are very close to hopefully having resolution on 3 or 4 of these cases now. And,
Hold on, I want to stop you there. 3 or 4 of these cases are close to being solved or having arrests made.
I don't want to say solved, but we certainly have a very strong suspect, some good information that we could move forward with.
Do you think you would be that close on those 3 or 4 cases without this task force?
No, I don't. I truly believe what we're doing is making a huge difference.
Do you have any information that could help detectives solve one of these cold cases, like the John Leatherwood investigation? Call 1-877-RI-SOLVE. You can also go to our website, WPRI.com, to learn about all of the other investigations we've covered so far in this series. I'm Steve Nielsen, Eyewitness News.